Hello and welcome to Ham Nation episode 497 for June 21st, 23rd even, 2021. Thanks so much for coming out. And hey everybody, I'm Josh, KI6NAZ. Thanks for coming out to watch Ham Nation again here on the Ham Radio Crash Course. Thanks so much for doing that. Huge show. We're obviously getting ready for Field Day. I'm super excited. I hope you're excited. We're going to be talking about kind of last minute items you may want to think about picking up with Tim Duffy from DX Engineering. We're going to have a spot with Gordo about Field Day safety, and Joe's joined us again, and we're going to have some fun kits, some kit builds that you might be interested in, so keep an eye out for that. And of course, we'll wrap it up with the Amateur Radio Newsline. So let's pull up the hosts. How's everybody doing? Oh, look at Amanda. We'll go to Amanda first because she's the most spirit, got the most spirit today. So how you doing, Amanda? What's going on?
I'm so excited. I love Field Day, and I've been looking forward to this for over a year now, obviously, like most of you have. So I'm looking forward to that. And it's funny, Jeff's packing the camper right now. And if you ever watched Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and that family just is like constantly back and forth loading their camper all day long, we've seriously been doing that for the last 3 weeks. So anyhow, stay tuned. I'm going to be following chat. And Tim's here with some great tips and helpful advice to get you through your field day in case you forgot something. So stick around.
Indeed. And let's go clockwise. So we're going to Dawn with another amazing shirt, I have to point out.
Oh, thank you. Unfortunately, I appear to be having I'm having a what do you call it? A wardrobe malfunction? Hey, let me fix that. Hang on.
Yes.
That's much better. That's much better. Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Field Day as well. I'm going out towards the Mississippi-Alabama border. I've never done it with that group out there, and I can't think of their call sign, unfortunately, or I'd tell it to you if I get it by the end of the show. But yeah, I haven't done Field Day in a group in several years, so I'm looking forward to getting back out. I used to do it every year, the whole 24 hours, but haven't done the full pull in a long time. Not going to do it this year either, but yeah, we're looking forward to that. Also looking forward to everything that Tim Duffy's got for us, and Joe Eisenberg, and of course Gordo and Amanda and you and all of our chat people. And we've got Dr. T, who is fresh off of a live 1 hour on, I believe it was was it Ham Radio and Coffee? She just finished that up.
Coffee and Ham Radio is the cool show. That's on Ham Radio Outdoors. I linked it in the description. K5ATA Steve, great guy. Yeah, go watch that on the Team Replay. Make sure you drop Team Replay from HRCC.
Gonna do that. He's in the chat room too. So we've got our own small version of Dr. T. She's not live, but nonetheless she is here, and we're excited about it.
That was a really great interview, by the way. So make sure you go watch that. Gordo, how is it going? What have you been up to?
All is well. CQ Field Day. This is 1 Delta. Oh, no more Deltas. Delta's operating from home. Get out. Get your rears in gear and get out and play Field Day, either an EOC or mobile or portable. But I don't want to hear any more 1 Deltas. Back to you, right, Josh.
I'm excited to see if people if we're all coming out of hibernation and just people are so yearning for this that there's just going to be a massive year. I'm thinking there might be. I'm very excited for that. So, Joe, how are you? Thanks for coming back again. What's up?
Well, Josh, of course, I have kits. I'm kind of keeping an eye on the weather radar, of course. It's the Midwest, and it's storm season, and we might get hit around 10 o'clock or so this evening, so it should be kind of interesting. I will be talking about some kits that would be great to have if you were doing your own little field day, and also a kit that I'm trying to put together myself from 3D printed parts. So back to you, Josh.
Well, if we needed more action, this could turn into a live weather spotting show with Joe outside giving the live play-by-play. So let's throw to Amanda. You're taking it from here, Amanda.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. And I'd love to welcome our lovely guest, Tim Duffy, K3LR, also known as DX Engineering, Summit Racing, you name it, this man does it. Tim's got some, I heard he has show and tell, by the way, so I'm really excited about this. But I have to tell you, Tim, we decided we're going to add a 40-meter add-on kit to our A3S. We decided this late Sunday. We already have it on our porch. So thank you, DX Engineering. So, Tim, take it away. What do you got to show us today?
Well, hello, Amanda. Hello, everybody. Nice to be back on the show. And it has been a busy several weeks at DX Engineering. Amanda, thank you for the order, and I'm glad we got everything to you in time. And of course, nowadays we're shipping from Sparks, Nevada and Talmadge, Ohio. So we have a West Coast and of course our Mideastern location where our headquarters are. So when you place an order with DX Engineering, it could come from either location, and we do everything we can to get you your order just as quickly as possible. And Amanda, if you place your order tonight or tomorrow, you got to select overnight shipping, because that's the only way to get you your stuff by Friday so that you have it for field day. And one of the things that I want to make sure everybody who is going to field day and operating field day is that you get extra points for appointing a safety officer.
Oh, good.
You have to have a safety officer. That's very important, because every year on field day, something goes wrong, and you have to have the safety officer. And you certainly don't want to take any chances with the antennas close to power lines, anything that can fall over. You have to really make sure that everybody is safety conscious. And in that line, it is real important to have a good quality VOM meter. And hopefully you've packed one of these in the camper there, Amanda. You got to have a VOM meter, because
Yes.
you want to measure the output voltage of the generator. Every year you hear a horror story where somebody turned on the generator and it was putting out 200 volts. And then they start plugging things in, and that can be a problem. You can really hurt your equipment very fast if you don't take care of making sure that you have the right output voltages out of the generator. And then you also want to check your output voltage out of your power supplies to make sure that it's 13.8 volts. That's very important. You don't want it to be low voltage or high voltage going into your radio. So the VOM, got to have a volt ohm meter with you. Second most important thing, antenna analyzer, Rig Expert. I would recommend that every club, every field day group have at least one of these, and make sure you check your antennas, because when you put them up, they may not work, and you don't want to take and transmit into a bad antenna, Amanda. That's really can hurt the radio, and so it's very important that that you do that to make sure that gray box is at the bottom. There we go. That you want to make sure that you look at the antenna with an antenna analyzer before you plug it into the radio. Very, very important. And it's very quick and easy to do, and it can be a great teaching moment. Very, a big teaching moment to the field day participants. Maybe they haven't seen an antenna analyzer before. And so there's a lot of good there. And you got to have comfortable headphones. Heil Sounds, they have great comfortable headphones. And I think that, you need to make sure that you adjust them properly. This happens to be a Bose headset that we use here at K3LR, but you can wear these things for 12 hours straight without any problems. And they're noise canceling too, which is really, really nice. And the other thing is you got to tighten your connectors. So you got to have a good pair of channel locks. We have these at DX Engineering. And the idea is you go and you tighten all the PL259s to make sure that everything is tight. Because if it's not tight, you're going to get erratic results. You may have an SWR that's going up and down. You may be causing interference also to the other stations. So tighten up. Make sure that you have your channel locks. And while you're at it, make sure that you've got a good, comfortable chair. If you're going to sit there for hours and hours and hours, you want to make sure that the chair you're using is not going to cause your back to hurt or a neck ache. You don't want any of those things. So make sure you have a good, comfortable chair. And those are just some of the tips. But one of the other really important things about field day, and this will be my 49th field day, 49 years in a row. I've never missed one. And the thing that I want to emphasize is when when you come to field day, make sure that you go out and any visitors, any club members that show up, and greet them and ask them if they want to get on the air and have some fun. I mean, there's nothing worse than somebody new that shows up at field day and nobody talks to them. And we hear that story all the time, Amanda. And, amateur radio is all about communicating. So make sure that when you have somebody new that shows up or a club member that hasn't been around in a while, make sure you reach out to them, welcome them, and invite them to have fun, because field day really is all about mentoring and nurturing people to get on the air and have some fun making contacts, and show them headphone splitters are real important so that you both can listen to the radio at the same time, and just enjoy the heck out of it. It's the fastest 24 hours going.
Absolutely.
Before you know it, it's all over. So you want to stay up late, get up early, and get on the air and have some fun. So those are just a few tips. If you need something from DX Engineering, you better hurry up, order it overnight, and we'll get it to you. If we got it in stock, we'll get it to you by Friday.
Nice. The one thing you didn't bring up, Tim, and this is a great icebreaker to anybody visiting, is the food. So you got to make sure you have good food to give your guests and visitors. That's my number one rule. And also, I always like to have kind of an ambassador that's there to has kind of the spiel down to welcome any visitors and tell them about it, especially if anyone from a served agency or such should show up. You want to go over the emergency communications as well. So, and have that public info table. That's an easy 100 points.
Easy. Mm-hmm.
But the safety value, I was really thankful when the ARRL brought that up and made it some point values. And we take our safety officer very seriously, and he really does go around and check to make sure that there's fluorescent tape around things you might be tripping over. Those campsites, it can be very dark at night, and you never know. And I think tripping is probably one of the number one hazards. Now, I don't know if you have this kind of data in your mind, Tim, but I was kind of curious on what's the number one item ordered during field day week from DX Engineering?
Coax. More coax. And so, coax is just going out the door like crazy. But coax is the big mover.
I bet maybe some connectors. Probably, I know a few years ago, we'd gotten our Pro 7s, and then we realized that we might be using other radios than our ICOM. So guess what? We don't have an adapter for it. So overnight, you got to get that in there, because otherwise you don't have them to use. So, anyone else have any questions for Tim?
Well, Tim, you mentioned comfortable chairs. What do you take? What do you take into the field? Field chairs is kind of an interesting discussion.
It is, and there are some new folding chairs that are very comfortable. And I wish I would have brought an example here, but you have to have a comfortable chair. So many times, you find that operators are sitting on boxes, or it's just terrible. So
they're coolers.
They're coolers.
Yeah, the coolers. That's a popular chair too. So a good chair really pays off, Josh.
Indeed. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but you're 100% correct.
And Tim, what are you doing for field day? You guys getting a big group together?
We are. We're going to be here at K3LR. So, but we've got a big 20-foot by 30-foot tent outside. We're going to be building antennas. We have 3 Elmer programs set up for Saturday morning. So we're actually, going to make antennas and then use them and put them up in the trees and use them for field day. And then, if the bugs get bad or if it starts raining, we're going to come down here in the shack and operate too.
All right. And what are you guys going to be operating as? A 17,000 Alpha or?
We'll have up to 7 transmitters on. So,
okay.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
And in the spirit of field day and amateur radio, I assume that all visitors and guests are welcome?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Tim, for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it. Don't forget dxengineering.com. Josh, show them the website in case no one knows where that is. Oh, come on, you guys know where this is. You can call for customer support. help them. They can help you find what maybe connector, adapter, or feed line you might need for your event this weekend. So
I was mentioning before the show that this website's dangerous. My wife is watching right now, and she's seeing the recommended for you page, and those Italian loops, man, are very very good looking. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, they actually work really, really well, Josh. So don't be afraid. You get permission, and then just put it in the cart and make it happen.
And if
bad influence is bad.
If worse comes to worse, just use another browser in incognito mode. Don't ask me how.
Oh, and I want to shout out to you chat room. Thank you, Andy, for bringing this up. And we would not be able to function at our field day site without these band pass filters.
Oh,
people.
Huge. Yeah.
Tim, any advice? If you don't have one, if you do have them, take it away.
You really do need that. Helps keep the peace on field day. It helps keep 20 meters out of 10 meters and 40 meters out of 20 meters. But bandpass filters, we have them. We have lots of them in stock from low band systems. So go right to the website, put in bandpass filter, and they all come up. And that's a great way to keep the peace field day.
Absolutely. And if there's any newcomers that haven't done a field day or seen multiple transmitters at a site at one time, what happens is that you can bleed over from 20 into 40 if someone's doing CW on one and someone's on voice on the other. That person doing phone is going to hear that CW, and you're going to be wiping out who they're trying to work the whole time, and you're like, blah, this. And when he says keep the peace, Tim is not lying. Because the people have probably come to blows almost at field day sites over you're interfering with me. No, it's you. So they're very important. They might be a little pricey, but definitely important. So okay, thank you, Tim. We appreciate it. Have a great field day. We hope to hear you on the air all over the place and put you in the logs many a time. So
okay, Amanda, I hope you have fun and everybody gets on the air this weekend and we all have a blast. And CQ Field Day.
CQ Field Day. All right. Thanks, Tim. 7-3. All right. Gordo, you've got more field day info for us. So why don't you take it away?
All right. Thanks, Amanda. Tim, great to see you. And yes, bandpass filters, absolutely important. Be sure and mark them real well so you know which filter you've got in line. And we always encourage those of you that are operating with headphones to get a splitter so some of that audio, beside going into your ears, is going out on a local speaker so folks coming up behind you can see who you're speaking with. And, of course, you got to have tie ties. You can't have enough of these, but look at this. Look at this. This tie easily penetrated this marshmallow, similar to your eyeball. I couldn't find a similar to an eyeball fruit or vegetable, but the marshmallow will work. These things are sharp, and if you leave them uncut, you're risking someone bumping into it at night and losing an eye. And we always encourage you for field day, have a whole bunch of cell phone chargers with a charging source. So when the EOC commander comes up going, anybody got a cell phone charger? You're there. So Josh, let's go ahead and see what we have for field day 2021. Want to make sure that you have as much visualization of your field day site, and a big sign like this really makes a difference. And we hope to mitigate the problem that Amanda and all that we're bringing up, Tim with, of course, bandpass filters, is you can't have enough separation between HF antennas. Try and separate them. You can't expect that one HF station is not going to get into the other if the antennas are more than about 30 feet apart. Make that less than 30 feet apart. If they're about 100 feet apart, you're going to be in good shape. Watch the weather, because there is nothing worse than deploying for field day and not forgetting all of the plastic to keep yourself going. Because remember, field day is our test of emergency preparedness. And by the way, you can now, if you must operate from home, they've released and reduce some of the home-to-home rules. That would be 1 Delta for a single operator operating from home, 1 Echo if you're operating from home on emergency power, or as this fellow is doing, he may be 1 Alpha or 1 Bravo all by himself on the air. So know your field day exchanges. And as we always say, watch out for high tension power lines. You'll probably live if you get in an encounter with those lower ones, but it's the 2 top lines out here in California. Those are the ones that are not covered with anything, and they'll roast you, toast you in a hurry. And think about sunblock for those that have sunshine this Saturday and Sunday. And a good field day station uses canopies that they're well anchored in case you get any wind in the afternoon. And think about elbow room. And that elbow room means not putting all of your operators right on top of each other. You could put the operators in their own individual tents, but to do so, you sort of lose that spirit. It's fun to put all the operators together with headphones and then split them out so that the antennas are far away from where the operators are operating. Make sure that you've got access for the handicap because some of the best field day operators may not be able to walk, but by golly, here's Kevin and Pastor Jason Gant, who made field day a big hit several years ago. And Kevin was all over the field day radios with a great signal. And of course, for technician class operators, give them a real taste of high frequency. Hopefully the 6-meter band will open, but certainly tell them voice privileges 28.3 to 28.5. And if you're under the supervision of a field day control operator with a general or extra, then as long as they're there to supervise and say it's okay right there at field day site, you can get those techs onto some of the other bands as third party. And a fun way to go for field day, if it's just sort of a modest field day, is to see if everybody can at least work 30 or 40 countries, make that 30 or 40 states, maybe 30 or 40 countries in another few more years, and put a little star beside each state that they've worked. And we encourage all of you to make sure that your field day antennas have been tuned and tested beforehand because we haven't used them for probably a couple of years. And make sure that everything is nice and polished and clean, and mark them and mark where they should slip into. And that way, when you tighten up the hose clamps, you've got them all in good stead. And don't do your antenna work as you're setting the antenna up over any type of vegetation, because I know you're going to drop that nut and it is absolutely going to disappear. Then, of course, piling everything into the vehicle. And at this point, you want to make absolutely sure that anybody and everybody has protective glasses on. And once you start working on the antennas, a hard hat. So all of these protrusions are all at eye level, so something to watch out for. Have a greeter. As soon as the public comes underneath this sign, we have a greeter right there. That greeter's going to have the public sign in if they would like to, and give them a little pitch about what ham radio is about, what the American Radio Relay League is about with field day, and possibly take one of your field day non-operators, someone that is maybe there as a club member but not really wanting to get on the air, and let them give that new potential ham a tour of the field day site. But make sure you have good signage that's going to encourage people to see what ham radio is all about. And again, on this particular field day site, all of the operators are close together, and then the antennas all go out about 100 feet, and that helps minimize some of the crosshatch noise on the different HF bands. Kids love the telegraphy board, and they may drive you nuts, but many kids will surprise the heck out of you once they learn SOS, and I like to have them spell their name out. They can look at the letters, either the left or right chart there, and they feel good. And you give them a little certificate that says, congratulations, you've spelled your name in International Morse code. That makes them really feel special. So that's good for kids. And for those kids that have an interest in ham radio, operating as third party with an operator right there to supervise, or in this case, the fellow on the left, on the top of the picture, actually had his ham radio license, and he was tearing up the 10-meter airwaves, 28.3 to 28.5 per voice, doing a great job. And we encourage you to try digital modes as well, and get the kids turned on to that, and have fun running simplex in some of the DMR or some of the other digital point-to-point work. And of course, you saw that dish antenna in the back. That's 10 gigahertz. Make sure you've got around anything that is live that could be a hazard. Make sure that you've got it well signed so that no one is accidentally going to go up and touch the antenna. And of course, a little field day food. I'm not sure I would recommend beans for an enclosed tent, but nonetheless, a little fresh air cooking with a cast iron pot of beans is a great way to warm up the tummy. And of course, everybody loves field day food. So that's something to be sure and put on your calendar. And again, think logically. Kids, no problem. They can just get down there and help assemble the antenna. It's hard to see, but he does have protective lenses on anytime you're working around any metallic antenna. But here's the Orange County Amateur Radio Club, and they go, why bend over when you can bring a couple of little cheap sawhorses and do it this way in assembling the antenna? So Jeff and Amanda, when you go to assemble the A4 40-meter add-on kit, don't do it up here at belt level rather than down on the deck. Of course, wear those protective lenses. And there's Patrick. He's ready for any field day catastrophe. He's got the safety glasses on. He's ready to set up some guy lines and make sure that you carefully inspect your guy lines, your guy ropes. And one of the field days, no, this is not field day. This is Barry Goldwater's old antenna that came down here in Southern California. And that was quite an operation. But no, we don't have that luxury. We have arm power. And this is not safe. Take a look at those on the potential fall zone. They don't have near the protection that they should have with safety glasses, hard hats, and so on. So as Tim suggested, get your safety officer really geared up to catch some of these things and say, wait a minute, guys, hold on. And again, anybody climbing a tower absolutely should have the professional climbing gear, which DX Engineering has, all OSHA approved. It's a lot of stuff hanging on you, but I tell you, see a picture like this, if he went ahead and accidentally fell, not much is going to stop him other than the hard ground below it. So always be thinking safety. And just because they put up the antenna, and there's nothing worse than getting an antenna up in the air and everybody looking at it, and then some wise guy goes, where's the coax? Well, that's what you see getting put on at this particular field day. Forgot the coax. And make sure that your guy lines are rated for the potential amount of weight or wind that might occur. Because on a real windy day, if one of them lets go, what was a horizontal antenna for 6 meters is now vertical. Well, for Skywave, it probably won't make a difference, but it does look a little strange. And if it were a higher band, that would be a problem. Because, as you know, aluminum doesn't break. It actually fractures and bends. And here's an example of too much stress that someone was asking a field day antenna to go through. Watch those generators. Make sure that they are safe from fire. And most important, don't put them under anything where the fumes could come up through the floorboards and wipe out some of our ham operators inside a closed field day vehicle. So watch out for carbon monoxide poisoning. Again, safety officer really needs to watch out for that. And here it is. This may not be the most professional way of getting rid of the eye damage, but snip them up so close that you can run your finger over it and you don't feel a thing. But do not leave any of these plastic ties extended out, especially at eye level. Absolutely dangerous. And the safety officer is going to look around and he says, oh, yeah, I can see that. That's no problem during the day. But sometimes early in the morning, oh, my gosh, what's the wire? What's the what? Yeah, nothing worse than in the morning waking up and find someone either unconscious or sleeping it off after tripping over the wire. And Josh will give us a full report on that, right, Josh? Yeah, there he's going. Oh my gosh. Yep, those things happen. All right, headphones. Yeah, the Heil headset and many of the other Telex headsets. I mean, all headsets are good. But for those wanting to see and hear the field day activity, when they've got a pair of headphones on and they're making contacts, the guests aren't hearing the real excitement of someone at the other end of the circuit. So do the simple splitter that I showed you that plugs into the back so that you've got audio coming into the headphones, but you also have audio coming out, not real loud, but enough to be heard out of a companion speaker that guests can hear both sides of the conversation. There is nothing worse for a potential ham to come into a field day site, see a bunch of us just giving contacts and not hearing the other side of the contact. Well, certainly for FT8, that's a different story. You don't want to have that blasting in your ear. And there's Chip, K7 Juliet Alpha, working field day, and he's working a ton of folks on 6 meters. He'll be on 20 this year, but their headphones are allowed. And what about the displays of the radios you're going to bring? Yeah, they look neat. Nice color, thin film transistor. Many of them, like this one here on this short-lived but well-respected ICOM rig, was pretty good during the day. The one above it, LCD, did very well. But think about, can you see the older radios, old LED displays, or some of the new radios with the color displays? Some are not real easily seen during the day. And there you go. That's the band pass filter. And that's critical for any single station that's just going to operate on one band. And if they change bands and they don't change out the filter, the radio will let them know, the coax will let them know, other operators will scream at them, and you'll never make a contact. So make sure you've got the right filter for the right band. And, of course, the clamp-on EMI filters will help minimize any RF floating around, especially for those of you that are planning to operate digital. You really need these in and around your computer. Now, here's another one. That's a professional Heil headset plugged into the ICOM transceiver, and most of the newer HF radios that may also include 2 meters and 440, most of them have a monitor jack and a monitor feature where you can turn up or down your own voice as it's going over the air. However, if you have an HF radio or even a VHF, UHF radio, and you plan to use an exotic Heil headset, either this really good one or they have inexpensive ones, it's going to be a problem because it's very hard to communicate when you can't hear your own voice because you got both ears clamped up with just the audio coming back from the other station. So before you issue these wonderful headsets, the ones that completely cover both ears, yeah, I can't hear anybody. Hell, I can't even hear myself. They're going to have a hard time talking. And what they'll do is they'll remove one earphone, and the whole idea is have a monitor capability. So something to check out ahead of time. How are those Andersons after a year and a half? Well, many times, especially if they were in the sun, they're broken, they're cracked. So double check that all Anderson connectors are all set to go before you launch them off. Now, the International Space Station plus about 8 other satellites are available. The space station crossband repeater. You know it's crossband because you can hear Ker-chunk. Take a listen.
Alpha Fox Victor, Victor Alpha 6, Romeo Charlie November Portable, Delta Oscar 22. W Alpha 6, is it coming in? Victor Alpha 6, Victor Alpha 6, Romeo Charlie November Portable, Delta Oscar 22.
Did you hear the Ker-chunk? Yeah, that means that you accessed the space station. And your uplink is on 145.990 with a 67 hertz tone. And your downlink, as it's coming up, is 437, 810 or 805, 437, 800 when it's right overhead, 437, 795 as it's going away. So you want the other side of your radio, the UHF side, to be in the tune so you can keep track of Doppler. But indeed, do a demonstration of satellite, because even well-seasoned hams that have not been on some of the satellites will be impressed. For field day, all I can say is if you're going to try and make a cross-band contact with the International Space Station, best luck, because there's going to be so much RF going up there. It's hard to say you'll ever be able to make a contact. But most important, be able to let everybody else know. This is the ISS. You've seen it at twilight. Now you can hear it several times a day if you were a ham operator. So that's fun with a simple antenna. And of course, all this week, the International Space Station has been sending down slow scan television, and they won't be doing slow scan, I don't believe, on field day weekend coming up. But boy, all this week they've been sending down some really great pictures. Now there's Amanda there and Jeff getting ready for the assembly of their A4. This was at a big ham fest that we did several years ago with them in Colorado, and that was a lot of fun. But they're getting ready for field day. And of course, there's Janet Margelli, KL7MF. Janet says, oh my gosh, after field day, I've got to get all of this back into the vehicle. Well, that's the fun of field day, is having more stuff than what you actually started with. So above all, have fun on field day. Be extremely safe around field day. Get that safety officer in gear for field day. And we look forward to hearing you on one of the bands. You're a Charlie, a 1 Charlie if you're mobile, 1 Delta if you're operating from home, 1 Echo if you're on emergency power, and 1 Foxtrot, as we will be for our MASAC organization this Saturday, working from our EOC area. So have fun on field day. And I hope all of you have your gear all tuned up and turned on. We'll be taking this particular ICOM, and I'll be all over the place. So see you on field day. And speaking of ICOM, here's what's new with ICOM America.
It's that time of year again. Field day is June 26th to June 27th. ICOM has the base station of your dreams with the IC7300 and 9700 SDR transceivers and the portable SDR transceiver, the IC705. Be a field day leader with ICOM. ICOM's IC7300 is a high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design that will far exceed your expectations. This innovative HF transceiver digitizes RF before various stages to reduce the generated inherent noise in different IF stages. The IC7300 is the radio that changed the way entry-level HF is designed. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and SD memory card slot. Create your own band opening with the IC9700. Bring direct sampling to the UHF-VHF weak signal world. This all-mode transceiver is loaded with innovative features that are sure to keep you busy. 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time, high-speed spectrum scope, and waterfall display. Smooth satellite operation with 99 satellite channels. Dual watch operation and full duplex operation in satellite mode. Expect top performance on field day with ICOM's IC9700. IC705 is the perfect transceiver for hams who enjoy what both the great indoors and outdoors offer. Features and functionality at the tips of your fingers in a portable package, covering HF, 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters, and weight is just under 2 pounds. See the IC705 webpage to view accessories and free software available for download. For more information on all these great field day choices, visit icomamerica.com/amateur.
And all right, thanks so much to ICOM for supporting the show here, Ham Nation. We really do appreciate it. And don't forget, they got a giveaway right now. It's going on. We've got, basically after every show, you can go to the link, icomamerica.com/Ham Nation, and you can get in on that contest just by clicking on Enter Now. It's the fastest way to do it. You can even do it while you're watching right now. We really do appreciate y'all watching. I hope you're enjoying the show so far. We're having a lot of fun. I hope you're excited for Field Day. It's the biggest weekend of the year to a lot of hams out here. So let's go right on to Don. Don, how's it going?
Going very well. Thank you very much. A quick update on Tropical Storm Claudette that came through here. It was a non-issue for us. We've had bigger summer thunder showers, but about 25 miles away in Slidell, Louisiana, they got about 14 inches of rain. So there was some serious flooding there, but no issues here at the house. Of course, it's that time of the year. We're constantly watching the tropics and watching now, as a matter of fact. There may or may not be something coming in the next week or so. So we're keeping track of that. And we're also keeping track of what all's going on with Amateur Radio News, and we do that via Amateur Radio Newsline. From Amateur Radio Newsline report number 2277, this is Ham Nation Headlines for Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. Our top story this week marks the end of a DXpedition dream. The Intrepid DX Group has called off its planned activation of Bouvet Island.
The RV Braveheart, the sailing vessel that has carried many DXpeditioners to remote and challenging destinations, is being sold, and the 3Y0J Bouvet Island expedition has been cancelled. The Braveheart was to have taken members of the Intrepid DX Group to Bouvet in 2023. It was a trip that had been in the planning stages since 2016, following the team's DXpeditions to South Sandwich and South Georgia Islands. Writing on the group's webpage, Paul Ewing N6 PSE and Kenneth Obskar LA7 GIA said the ship will be sold as a result of downturn in the charter vessel business, a direct result of the pandemic. Paul and Kenneth are advising donors that their contributions are being returned to them by the same methods in which they were received, and it will take several weeks. The Hams wrote, quote, "We will continue to research other ships and possibly find another suitable vessel for a future project," end quote. Based in New Zealand, the Braveheart was the vessel of choice for numerous DXpeditions, including the Perseverance DX Group's VP8PJ DXpedition to South Orkney Island in 2020 and the VP6D Ducie Island DXpedition in 2018. Its skipper is Nigel Jolly, K6NRJ, a member of the CQDX Hall of Fame. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jim Meechan, ZL2BHF.
Those waiting to attend the biggest radio rally in the UK will have to wait one more year.
The National Hamfest, considered the premier radio rally in the UK, has been postponed until September 2022. Organisers made the announcement on their website and Twitter accounts on Friday the 11th of June. They said that a number of factors were making it impossible to predict whether the event could be safely held in September this year as scheduled. With at least 3 months' worth of planning involved in staging the Hamfest, they determined it was wiser to wait another year. The announcement said, quote, "The organisers not only wish to act in a responsible way towards the large team of volunteers who staff the event and make it possible every year, but also towards the visitors and the partner organisations, all of whom make the event a success each year," end quote. The show is to be held as always at the Newark and Nottinghamshire Showground. The rally is held by National Hamfest in brackets Lincoln, close brackets, in association with the Radio Society of Great Britain. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jeremy Boot, G4NJH.
On this side of the Atlantic, another celebration of independence is about to kick off. It's the popular 13 Colonies special event, and it's back this year with a new bonus station on board.
When the colonial army fought for American independence in 1776, the French became the soldiers' primary allies. Now, the French are offering another gesture of support to the 13 colonies, and this time, by 13 colonies, we mean the annual special event by that name. As the event kicks off on July 1st, French radio operators will be adding a new bonus station. TM13COL will join bonus stations GB13COL in England and WM3PE in Philadelphia. This year also marks the 13th year for the 13 Colonies event, which will be on the air through July 7th. It marks America's Independence Day, which will be observed on July 4th. Last year, event operators made more than 202,000 contacts. This year, the improved band conditions have organizers feeling optimistic that they can beat that total, especially with some stations operating via satellite and at least 2 bonus stations using digital voice. All stations will be on HF, so be listening for K2A through K2M and work toward your certificate and the individual QSL cards, which this year will feature a ship associated with each colony, city, or country. For more details, visit QRZ.com, the 13 Colonies special event page on Facebook, or the event website at www.13colonies.us. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Sel Emby, KB3 TZD.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Jim Meechan, ZL2BHF, Jeremy Boot, G4NJH, Sel Emby, KB3TZD, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now here's a solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW.
We have a solar storm graze, some noctilucent clouds, and some new regions on the sun's far side could brighten our day. Those stories and more in the news this week. Space weather this week has definitely calmed down a bit compared to last week. As we take a look at our front-sighted sun, you can see that southern polar coronal hole that gave us some fast solar wind about a few days ago. That is finally rotating to the sun's far side, and we do have a northern coronal hole that's going to also be giving us some more fast wind here over the next couple days. And we also have region 2833. Now this poor region has not been as strong as the last time we saw it. It did back on the 18th give us a few puffs, and one of those puffs was actually a solar storm that launched eastward. That solar storm is maybe going to graze us right around midday on the 23rd, but it's pretty weak, so we're not expecting much from that. Meanwhile, as we expect this fast solar wind from this polar coronal hole in the north to give us a little bit of a boost on the 24th, that's about it. We've got maybe a small enhancement that could give us some more fast wind from mid-equatorial regions, but it's kind of hard to say if that's going to give us anything. But outside of that, man, the disk is kind of bland. Luckily, we do have another filament that could erupt. We've been watching it, and it's really trying to lift off. It's kind of north of region 2833. But as of right now, oh gosh, I'm not sure it's going to make it. It actually might erupt on the sun's far side. Ugh, and we, of course, won't get any aurora show from that. However, we do have some bright regions on the sun's far side, and that could be boosting the solar flux for amateur radio operators and emergency responders here in the next few days. Switching to our M-Flare threat meter, you can see over the past week the X-ray flux has been extremely low, and therefore by proxy the solar flux continues to be reasonably low. We've been seeing just a little bit of stumbling and bumbling, but really pretty flatlined, all things considered. We're clear down at the B floor right now, and this is because region 2833 on the Earth-facing disk is fizzled, and there really is no other hope for a sunspot on the Earth-facing disk right now. So this is the condition. We have really no solar flares and no chance for them over this next week, but in about 4 days we will see some new spots emerging, and that's when we expect to see that X-ray flux and therefore the solar flux as well begin to rise. So amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, you're just going to have to continue to hang on for a bit. Switching to our solar storm conditions, you can see over the past week we've been sitting pretty much at unsettled conditions. Now back around the 12th we did get a bump up to active conditions from a very small pocket of fast solar wind. Then we kind of settled back down, and then on the 15th we got hit by a bit larger pocket. This was that southern polar coronal hole I was mentioning, and that brought us some fast solar wind that bumped us to storm levels and did bring us a little bit of aurora, which was really nice among the noctilucent clouds that were seen right around the same time. Sadly though, this fast solar wind that it brought really didn't last as long as the previous times we've seen this particular coronal hole. So things just kind of settled around unsettled conditions, and then slowly over 24 to 48 hours really settle back down to quiet conditions. And that's pretty much where we're at right now. And likely, even with that grazing incidence of that solar storm we're expecting right around the 23rd, we're probably not going to bump up much past this. So amateur radio operators and emergency responders, everything should be pretty much in the green for you. And also aurora photographers, well, we're just going to have to take a look at more noctilucent clouds until we get another chance for some more aurora. So what else does our sun have in store for us this week? Well, this is Stereo A. It's our partially far-sighted monitor. You can see here's Earth, here's the sun, and here's Stereo A staring at the sun, well, just a little bit from the side. And when you take a look at Stereo's view, well, it's beginning to look a lot like Earth view, isn't it? You can see region 2833 and the little kind of coronal hole just beneath it. 2833 on the 18th, you can see the wisps. Those are the puffs of solar storm material that are being launched off of the sun. Those are going to go east of Earth, but you can definitely see it very clearly in Stereo's view. But look to the east limb in Stereo. Look at these regions both in the north and in the south. These are old regions 2830 and 2831 as they're beginning to rotate back into Stereo's view, and boy are they busy. I didn't mention it on this Earth-facing sun. You can actually see these things launching some solar storms, and this is great because they're going to be rotating back into Earth view here in the next probably day or so, and they will be boosting that solar flux for amateur radio operators and emergency responders. They also may be sunspots as well. We might get a little bit of flare activity, and we might get a chance for more solar storms. So we'll be keeping our eye on these regions here over the next week to see what they're going to bring, and perhaps space weather activity will begin to ramp up. Switching to your solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week. This week, the activity is kind of on the downside. We don't have a lot in the forecast, but we are expecting a bit of fast solar wind right around the 24th. Now, at high latitudes, NOAA is expecting unsettled conditions, but we do have up to about a 25% chance of a major storm, so we could see some aurora from this fast solar wind. At mid-latitudes, though, we're really only expecting quiet to unsettled conditions, but we do have about a 20% chance of active conditions, again, around the 24th because of that fast solar wind mainly. And this will continue over the few days following that, but it won't last all that long. But hopefully it'll be better than this last fast wind fizzle that we had just about a week ago. So aurora photographers, if you're at high latitudes, yeah, I would expect you could have a pretty decent show. But at mid latitudes, well, maybe only if you're dedicated should you chase. So the space weather this week is a bit on the quiet side. We don't have a lot going on. There is a solar storm that's going to be glancing past us right around the midday on the 23rd, and then it's going to be followed by some fast solar wind that will hit us that could bump us up to possibly active conditions or even maybe storm levels at high latitudes. So aurora photographers, only if you're dedicated should you chase right around the 24th and possibly into the 25th. Now we also have a potential filament that's trying to erupt, but it's hard to tell. It's kind of keeping us on pins and needles, so we'll be watching for that to see if that actually launches as a solar storm, because right now it is in the Earth strike zone. So, you know, maybe we'll get another chance for a solar storm. We shall see. Now, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, you know, right now we're sitting almost at 80 for solar flux, despite the fact that we don't have, other than just region 2833, one bright region on the Earth-facing disk, but we are getting those new regions rotating into Earth view that is going to bump up that solar flux even more. So we're inching ever closer to that good range for radio propagation on Earth's day side. So just hang in there and enjoy this slow climb. And then finally, you GPS users, well, you know, it's not so bad right now. The solar flux is still kind of down below 100, so that's good news for you. And we're not really expecting any intense solar storms, so we're not getting a lot of aurora. And, you know, I'm not sure GPS is affected by noctilucent clouds, but if you get a chance to step outside and take a look at night, it's a beautiful show. So enjoy yourself and know that GPS reception should be pretty good all over the globe. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.
Very good, Dr. T. Thank you so much for that report. Of course, you should follow her on Twitter at Tamitha Skov and check out spaceweatherwoman.com for the absolute latest in space weather and what it does to ham radio and everything else radio-wise. So there you go. That's just about all for me. Amanda, back over to you.
Well, thank you. And it wasn't a horrible report for field day.
No, could be better, could be worse. Yeah.
Last year was pretty popping around here, so I don't know that we'll see that again. You guys, Josh had announced the ICOM giveaway. I have another one to announce, and this one's close to everyone's heart because everyone loves Bob Heil. And guess what? They don't usually give giveaways for amateur radio stuff, but they are this weekend. So Josh has a little thing here, and this post is probably terrible to look at, but y'all, go to Facebook, go to Heil Sound, I believe it is, and look at this post. And it basically is saying, do field day this weekend, post your photo to our Facebook page, and you will be entered to win a Pro 7 Heil headset. So be sure to do that. Plus, there's 3 other giveaways of a signed book, and I can't remember the name of the book, but it's his sound book, which is very important. Everyone should already have that in their library. So just wanted to make everyone aware of that. They're giving a special giveaway just for amateur radio in honor of field day this weekend. So try to check that out. Without further ado, we've had Joe in the wings here for quite a while this evening. We got Joe K0NEB with some kind of kit building. Joe, take it away.
Oh, you're muted.
There we go. Yes, Amanda, thank you very much, and appreciate everything you guys have done so far to lead up to building kits tonight. I'm going to turn on the slides, and let's see if this will let me do that. And
you can do it.
And it didn't do it, did it?
You can't do it.
Uh-oh.
Joe broke it.
While Joe sorts that out, I did want to go back. I'm paying attention, Joe, so when you get that ready, I'll switch back. Leia had another question. It goes back to Gordo's, and that's Gordo's smiling face because I think he's taking a break for us right now. So Leia asked, what was that open-topped vehicle that Gordo had at the field day pictures? That's a dune buggy. Specifically, that's a Volkswagen that has been modified to have a fiberglass dune buggy shell on top of it. So it's an old vintage Volkswagen that they've converted, which is kind of cool. It was a thing. When was that popular? In the 70s, 80s? More of a thing?
It's Gordon's dune buggy.
Yeah, Gordon's dune buggy.
Yeah. It looked like a storage unit at the time in that photo, but Gordo has some pretty cool vehicles. I mean, he's got like the, I don't know, 1968 station wagon or whatnot, and that comm van. I'm pretty sure all those are sitting in. Did you see that in his communications unit? And it's like one of those old conversion vans. I'm sure it rocks.
I've seen all of his vehicles at the Ham Radio Outlet in Anaheim, because that's where he goes down there, and he'll have the van or he'll have his car. His car has like an old hybrid tube radio in it, like a big radio. It's very interesting.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff he's got.
He should be doing a video on that. I think Joe's ready to take it over now.
He is. Let's go back to Joe, or Joe's screen. Go for it, Joe.
All right. And now you can see the pictures. What we're looking at here, we had Tim on earlier. This is a product that's put out now by DX Engineering. And It was also on the front page of QST, and I featured it in CQ. And what this is a noise loop antenna. And what this is used for is to find sources of RF noise. And it can also be used as a very directional antenna to DX on the different bands and so forth. So this is the parts. This is what it looks like before I put it together. And this is the 2 circuit boards. As you can see, there's not a real big parts count. There's a couple of pieces of wire. There's some tubing and a couple of circuit boards and 1 resistor. And it really goes together quite easily. And it comes with all the coax and the tubing and all the parts it takes to put this thing together. It's extremely directional. The side that has the resistor on it becomes the null. It's a very broad antenna, except when you get that null pointed toward that station or that signal, like the wall wart or your neighbor's plasma TV or something that's making the noise that's giving you headaches on the bands. This is what the toroid looks like when it's all put together. Did a nice straight job here. And later on, of course, I had to strip those leads and mount it on the board. And this is the front end of this. This is the loop terminator. It does have a resistor, which means you cannot transmit on this antenna. It will not work. This is definitely a receive-only antenna, and because it has a resistor, it really doesn't have any gain. In fact, it's negative. It has attenuation, and that's on purpose also to make it not only directional, but to cut down the signal strength so you can walk right up to the source of the interference. All that buzzing, you might find a power line transformer, things like that are causing a problem. This is what the feed line board looks like once the toroid is mounted in place. And then this is what the antenna looks like, all ready to go. And you can see on the left side of it is the resistor board, that's the terminator, and that's where it nulls. So when you turn it, you won't hear a lot of difference in the signal strength until you get that side with the resistor pointing at the source of the signal. That's when it's going to drop way down. So not only can you use this to find noisy power line transformers or other noise sources, you can use it if you're DXing the AM broadcast band. You can null out your locals and things like that. Very nice kit. It is available from dxengineering.com. This next kit is the QRP Labs QCX Mini. Now, the QCX kit has been around for quite a while. It's gone through many iterations, but this one is the Mini, and it fits in your hand. It's not much bigger than a deck of cards. Now, you'll notice that if you look at the main board or the other one for that matter, there are some surface mount parts. Those are already put on there for you, both on the top and the bottom of that board. So you don't have to worry about them. But because the surface mount parts are already done for you, you don't have a lot of capacitors or resistors to put on. There is a handful, as you can see in the parts tray, but you're not going to see hundreds of resistors to be put on that board because they're already done for you. So if you think you're getting away with something by having all that done for you, you're wrong, because it does have toroids and you get to wind them. And the main toroid has 4 sections, and they got to be wound the right way, all the same direction. So you really got to follow the directions closely. Now you'll notice the circuit board down here on the right. It looks like there's some pieces that break off, and they do, but you're going to have to use a file or an emery board to smooth those places, both on the part that you take off and on the part that remains, because all those have to fit together exactly right when it's put together. So we're going to go like this, and we're going to take a closer look at that board, and you can see all the surface mount parts that are already done for you. So if you thought you were going to get away with something, if you look, there are 4 regular toroids, and you have T1 with 4 sections on it. Now you can get this kit for all the bands from 80 meters through 15 meters. So you got to tell them which band you want before you go. And you can see here with this board, get a little closer look at what things look like. The BPF is the bandpass filter. And we'll take a closer look at that toroid. And you can see I painstakingly made that exactly the way it's supposed to, so that everything goes on right. Make sure you clean the ends of the wires very thoroughly and then tin them before you solder it to the board. That way the solder flows through both sides and you get a good physical as well as electrical connection. But that toroid has 4 sections, so you got to be really careful. This is what the boards look like when they're put together. It looks like a sandwich kind of a thing. And everything's put together and ready to go in the case. It is digitally synthesized, so that's why the tuning control is not a variable capacitor. It is a digital encoder, and there's 2 buttons. It has functions like VFOA and VFOB and RIT. It's got some messages, but the really neat part of this thing is that tuning it up requires no signal generator or anything because it uses its own circuits to do that. It has software in it that lets you peak this thing, and you go back and forth several times. Once you get through that procedure several times, you're going to notice a huge difference in the receive sensitivity and selectivity. And it works real well. It has a 2-line LCD display, and on the bottom line, it's copying the CW for you. So I think this is really slick. This is what it looks like just before you put it in the case. Those 3 blue trim pots in the middle are what you're going to be adjusting while you're watching the screen and doing the tune-up procedure, which, like I said, are on menus within the operating system of this thing. So and I'm going to contrast that with the next kit we're talking about as well. But you can see, got all those toroids wound nice and neat and pulled the way they are to tune up for best operation. But this little transceiver puts out 5 watts of CW and very clean, very nice. And I've made several contacts with this. And this is what it looks like when it's all put together. And when we're done here, I'll hold one up just so you can see it in my hand. And that bottom row where you see the T, it's just beginning to copy some CW. It runs on 12 volts. One of the neat things is it's got a PTT and a CAT jack. The PTT is a contact that pulls in so that you can key a small amplifier. And they do have an amplifier kit that you can make that will go with this. I think it puts out 45 or 50 watts, so it doesn't have to be purely QRP, and it has a CAT jack, which is serial data in and out. And it uses the Kenwood scheme of CAT commands to and from it. So I can have my logging program on my laptop or something communicating with this, and the logging program can either change its frequency or just display what's coming back, the mode and everything. It has full CAT control just like your big rigs. It will accept a straight key or a paddle, and it's got a headset jack on the other side. What a fun kit, and it's something that you can put in your pocket and take it with you to field day. This next one is put out by John Dillon, WA3RNC. And this is a dual band CW transceiver. Now, this is a little bigger than the QCX. It puts out about the same amount of power, but I think it was on 40, I was getting about 9 or 10 watts out of it. The neat thing about this is you saw before in the last kit, you saw I had all those parts sorted out into different compartments in that little tackle box. This kit, you do not need to do that because each step of the way, you use a little pouch here. You'll see these things that come with it. All the parts are in these 3 plastic strips. One says lower PCB parts. The one on the right says upper PCB parts, and the middle one says final assembly. And so what you do is you take your scissors and you cut the first pouch close to the top, and it might have 1 or 2 parts in it. and then you install those according to the instructions. And so I think this one went through the upper board and then the lower board and then the final assembly. And so when I stop building a kit, taking a break, a lot of times I'll have to close up my little parts holder so that the cats don't knock it over or anything gets lost. Well, with this one, if you've used all the parts in one compartment of these things, one little pouch, then you don't have to worry. You can just throw the whole thing in a box and your parts aren't going to go anywhere. So that's what's really slick about it. It is, the parts are packaged in heat sealed pouches in a single strip of clear plastic. So you can see the parts in there. You cut a little hole, you pull the parts out, and then you go on and do the next one. I have not seen a kit do that before. I think this is really slick. Like a lot of other kits that are coming out now, I think I showed a Kier kit earlier. It uses the same 1 inch by 1/2 inch OLED display. So this one also, like the last kit, is a hybrid kit in that all the surface mount parts are done for you. Here we're looking at the upper board and the lower board, and one of them is in the case. But you'll notice that on one of these boards it has trimmer capacitors. Now, unlike the other kit, where you had to use a menu and the internal signal generator to adjust it, these have been pre-adjusted on a pin cushion, which is a device used to test circuit boards in a manufacturing environment. And so all the trimmer caps are already aligned for you. All you got to do is finish the other parts. So we'll take a look here. This is what the upper board looks like, and you can see the display and the controls and the switches. And you'll notice that the jacks are soldered to the bottom of the board. And that's one of the things you really got to watch carefully in the instructions, because those jacks are on the bottom of the board. It has an encoder like we talked about before, but it has an OLED display instead of an LCD. And it has a very similar CPU. These are the toroid parts. You can see the two different types of toroid cores, and you can see the wire. And the wires that are twisted together are actually for what we call a bifilar toroid, which is T1 in this case. So you don't have to spend all day long twisting the wires together. He gives you the wire already pre-twisted. And he even, in one of those little pouches, throws in a little piece of cloth-backed sandpaper, so you can clean the insulation off of the wire, and then you can tin it. And when you tin it, use kind of a hot tip so that any other insulation that you might not have gotten with the sandpaper gets burned off and replaced with solder, and makes it a nice tin wire and ready to solder to the board. And this is what it looks like with all the toroids and T1 all mounted. There are 6 toroids in this. So even though you get the break of having all those surface mount parts done for you, you gotta wind 6 toroids, but it's not that hard. I keep telling people that toroids are just a part of kit building. You see the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 on the bottom. Those are specifically chosen crystals to make a 4-pole crystal filter. Once again, this is a dual band transceiver. It works on 40 and 20. So let's see here. And that is the end of the picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the kit. And this is what it looks like. There we go. And I'll light it up. And oops. You can see it's on 14030. And if I, see if I can find that, flip that switch, it changes to 40 meters. Now, as opposed to the other kit that we just showed you, there are no menus on this. So there's no programming or anything like that. The alignment is pretty well done for you. It uses the same kind of encoder and digital synthesizer, but it has controls, actual analog knobs that will control the speed of your keyer, the amount of power you're putting out, the RF gain of your receiver, the volume of your headset, and the toggle switches turn it on and off, and change the band and turn on and off the RIT. So real slick kit. I made a nice long CW rag chew with a straight key on it, and I was asked for my SKCC number, and I had to grab my phone and look it up because I could not remember my SKCC number, and ended up making a series of contacts. This is the, if I can get this to plug in, there we go. This is the QRP Labs QCX Mini, all lit up, and you can see the display running. These would be fun to take to field day. It'd be a great demo. Show people that you don't need a big 100-watt radio to make contacts on field day. And if you need a key, I can 3D print these. And I found out that if I order the parts in bulk, I can get the parts to put this together and make a nice little CW key for about 65 cents. So this is a great project. If you know somebody who has a 3D printer, I can send you the Thingiverse number for the 2 plastic pieces. You can do them 1 color or 2 colors or whatever you like. The cable, in this case, was a computer audio cable that I cut in half. Now, what that does is when you cut it in half, that means I've got cables for 2 keys. So when I buy the cables in bulk, all I'm going to do is cut them in half. So I got cables for 2 of them. And this is what the parts look like. It takes, on some 3D printers, about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And that's all it takes to print the parts. I was able to find online a source of springs for the key, and the screws and the other materials for it. So it's a great project you can do as a club or a group, and I'd be glad to lead one. And then let's see here. Finally, this is a radio that is available both as a kit and pre-made. And once again, it has the same darn display as that other radio. We're going to light it up. And what this is it's a general coverage receiver. It covers from long wave at 150 kilohertz all the way up into the FM broadcast band. And in the FM broadcast band, it picks up stereo and RDS, so it gets the text from the radio stations. This one does not run on 12 volts. If you see here in the back, it has a USB mini. There's other versions of this that have the micro or the USB-C. It has a cell phone-like battery that's inside it, and a really nice, good-sized speaker in the top. Very light, very easy, and this would be good to set on the table at field day because it gets all the way through the shortwave bands as well, all the way up to 30 megahertz. And you can tune in. It does sideband, upper, lower sideband, CW. It's obviously not going to be as sensitive as, let's say, an Elecraft KX2, but a lot simpler, and you can set it on the table and let somebody listen to different bands on field day. So, that's the kits that we have today, and I always have more to show. And so next time I'm on, we're going to show you a lot more about kits.
Thank you, Joe. First of all, you got to tell us, what are your plans for field day?
Field day, I have a long ways to go. The Lincoln Amateur Radio Club operates field day in Mahoney Park, which is literally behind my house. However, the park stretches a mile from 70th to 84th Street. So I actually have to drive because I've got all the radios and stuff in the car. But because my car's a plug-in, I'm only going to abuse electrons. I'll never have to put the gas on. And so we operate as K0KKV, which we always say is King Kong's Vampires. So if you hear K0 King Kong's Vampires, especially on 20 meters, you might be talking to me.
One of the most unusual phonetics I've heard for a club call. Don, what are you doing?
Well, if Josh will bring up that QRZ page for Kilo Charlie 5, Charlie Whiskey, this is going to be in George County, Mississippi, which is about an hour and a half drive away from me. The guy here used to have a chicken restaurant, CW Wings.
Oh.
And so that's where the CWW came from. I think the restaurant is closed down now, but nonetheless, that is the club call, I guess, for their little club. And so that's where I'm going to be, and really looking forward to going out and playing with those guys this weekend.
Awesome. That, as y'all know, I got a big group. Big, huge. It's huge. Lots of us are going to be out there. November 0, Sierra Zulu is going to be the call sign. East of Como, Colorado, about 10,000 feet up. It's going to be very cold, but I am really looking forward to it. I don't even care about the cold weather. So, and then we got Josh, who's going to be trying to make contacts as he's standing in the aisle of a wedding.
Yeah. I am. I'm going to be busy all day. It's a traditional wedding, so it starts in the morning and it goes very late into the evening. So actually, my stream this week is going to be on Friday for everybody watching. Special time. It'll be on Friday. But we're going to be talking about covert radios, covert ham radios. So a lot of kind of where Joe is going, more towards the kit side. Also, I'm going to show you how to wear your VHF, UHF handheld in a way that no one will know you have it. And I will be testing that out at a wedding for Field Day. So that's the live stream this week. So it should be fun.
So tactical ham radio carrying is what I'm hearing right now.
Right.
Okay.
At a wedding.
Concealed carry of ham radios. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, indeed.
At a wedding, yeah.
At a wedding, yes. Should be a lot of fun. I'm very excited. I want to remind everybody and welcome everybody. We will be going, or at least I will be going over the Discord after that. The link is in the chat and in the description, and we can continue this conversation. If you've got questions on Ham Nation today, or just enter your ham radio questions, hop on over there and we'll keep going. But yeah. Keep going. What else we got?
First of all, I'd really like to thank Tim for joining us this evening. Some awesome information. Yes. We appreciate it. And the fact that DX Engineering can get things to your house from Wednesday night to Friday is amazing. Yes. Second thing, Gordo had some great short shots tonight. Gordo, you already told us where you're going to be operating from. Tell us, what's your group size like?
I think
How many of you?
I think he's actually bailed. I just have a nice smiling picture of him. So
okay.
He's just there for, for filling out that fourth square.
I merely just glanced over there and I saw him all smiley. So I was like, I've got to throw him a question. Okay, never mind. We'll move on. Let's hopefully we all get to work Gordo this weekend. Other than that, I don't really have anything. July 7th, join us. I don't know what we got planned for July 7th, but I would like to say Happy Independence Day, everyone. This is why I'm all garbled up, not only celebrating Field Day, but also our Independence Day. So
there you go.
With that, happy 4th of July, and I think we can wrap this baby up.
All right. Thanks.
I would like to say, however, that the 18th was my lovely wife Dawn's birthday.
Oh, so, happy birthday, Dawn.
Yeah, happy birthday, baby. She's the best. She allows me to take my Wednesday evenings and do this, and then, of course, everything else that we do with Newsline and allows me to share the time between this and her, and yeah, she's the best. And she comes to me, or rather, she comes with me to Huntsville, so she really enjoys that. So if you're going to be in Huntsville, Josh, you'll get to meet my wife probably.
Yeah, that's going to be great. Well,
we're going to have a kind of a Huntsville special coming up in July. We don't know the date completely yet, but we're pretty much going to be doing a Huntsville, and I'll work on that and getting some other special guests that are going to be at Huntsville, and it'll just be an all about Huntsville show because I know it's going to be spectacular. Reading all the news, following all the chatter, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. I'm very excited about Huntsville. Very excited about Huntsville because, of course, that's where we do the Young Ham of the Year award, and that's one reason why I love it. But also, it's just the best ham fest around. It's my favorite ham fest, including Dayton. So
I am really excited to hear who Young Ham of the Year is as well. So
and,
go ahead,
Joe. Don and I will be making the presentation. Don will be the MC, and I will be representing CQ Magazine.
Oh,
yes,
how nice!
Yeah. Mr. Moseson will not be able to make it, and and Mr. Eisenberg will be stepping in his place. So yeah, I'm excited about sharing the stage with you, Joe.
Can I zoom in? Can I just
Yes, you can. You can watch it on. Watch it on W5KUB.com. You can watch it live. Tom Edlin will broadcast that live. Yeah.
I'll be roaming around with a live streaming rig, assuming there's enough cell phone. I'm going to make that happen, as well as some other fun video stuff. I did have a question for Joe. I just remembered for kit building. I always ask this at kit builders. How do you strip the enamel off the enamel wire?
Well, it depends. Actually, I have two different ways to do it. When you have the thicker insulation, what I do is I either sandpaper it or use an emery board. But if it's really thick, I also use a cigarette lighter to burn it so that you just have the black stuff on there, and then I sand that off, and then I tin it. If it's the real thin wire and it has what we call thermalase insulation, what I do is I take the soldering station and I turn it up all the way. And then I make a blob of solder on the tip of the iron, and then I hold it maybe about 1/8 of an inch from the toroid, maybe a little closer. And then what I do is I hold it there until you start seeing the smoke. And then what I do is I slowly draw it away from the toroid. And so not only does it melt off the insulation, but it leaves the wire tinned. So there's two different ways that I go about it.
Very good. There's a good little tip. I always, that's one of the things that bothers me. To add insult to injury of winding toroids, you then have to deal with this enamel. So it's a fun ham radio thing we got to go through. Well, all right. Okay. You know what? It's been a good show. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. Have a safe field day. You'll have fun. I guarantee it. But be safe and make sure you follow those recommendations from Gordo there earlier today. Anyway, allow me to play you out. 73s, everybody. Yeah, Gordo right there. Sorry, Gordo. Great picture, though, he left us with, I got to say.
It's fantastic.
All right, 73, everybody. Take it easy.
7-3.
Good night.
Don't forget those bonus points.